If the 1960s were the golden decade of design, power, and American elegance, then these cars were its brightest gems. Today, I'm taking you on a journey through the most expensive, luxurious, and exclusive automobiles ever built in the United States during that era. From presidential limousines to tuxedoed muscle cars, each model you'll see here represents the peak of luxury, technology, and automotive prestige. But be warned, this isn't just a list. It's a full sensory experience for lovers of classic American cars. If you've ever dreamed of hearing a V8 engine roar under the sun of the 1960s, this video is for you. So if you're passionate about automotive history, retro design, and the machines that defined an era, hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell icon. Because this isn't just another video. It's a time capsule that smells like premium gasoline. 1967 AMC Ambassador DPL. When we talk about luxury cars from the 1960s, most people immediately think of Cadillac, Lincoln, or Chrysler. But there's a name that quietly made its way into that conversation without needing to shout, the Ambassador DPL. Yes, AMC, the brand many associated with practical and affordable cars, also had its moment of greatness. And this model was its calling card in the American luxury scene. The Ambassador DPL didn't try to compete through excess or provoke envy with spoilers or over-the-top chrome. Its elegance was different, refined, restrained, with a sober aesthetic that conveyed respect rather than ostentation. Its elongated front design, clean lines, and balanced profile made it stand out through discretion, not visual noise. It was the car of an executive who didn't need to impress anyone because he had already made it. What's most fascinating about this model wasn't just its appearance. The DPL offered a luxuriously equipped interior with leather seats, air conditioning, power steering, power windows, and impressive acoustic insulation for its category. AMC spared no detail, determined to prove it could build a top-tier car without abandoning its identity as an accessible brand. Under the hood, the Ambassador featured a 343 cubic inch V8 engine producing 280 horsepower paired with a 3-speed Borg-Warner automatic transmission. Driving it was smooth, comfortable, ideal for long highway journeys. It was the kind of car that hugged you around every curve and made you forget that speed mattered when comfort was everything. And now we come to what earned it a spot on this list. Its original price tag of $3,800, equivalent to over $33,000 today. It might not have been the most expensive car in absolute terms, but it was in terms of intent, because AMC took on something harder than selling luxury to millionaires, offering real luxury to people who normally couldn't afford it, and they pulled it off with admirable balance. A fun fact, this was the first AMC car to offer a double wishbone front suspension with coil springs, greatly improving its stability without sacrificing softness. Details like that reveal the hidden ambition of a model that in its own way also wanted a place in history. 1965, Chrysler 300L. Some cars are born to make history and others to close it with dignity. The 300L was both. The glorious final chapter of a legendary saga that began in the 1950s with the Letter Cars series. A series that, for more than a decade, represented the best Chrysler had to offer in terms of power, refinement, and exclusivity. The 300L was the last to wear that letter with pride, and it did so roaring with elegance. At first glance, its long and muscular body combined restrained aggression with aristocratic class. It wasn't a vulgar or ostentatious car. It had presence. It was the kind of automobile you drove with one hand on the wheel and the other on the armrest, chest out and eyes on the horizon. The 300L didn't need to prove anything because it knew exactly what it was, a muscle car with ballroom manners. Inside, it offered a level of comfort and detail many didn't expect from a car of this kind. Leather seats, electric controls, air conditioning, a dashboard with metallic finishes, and acoustic insulation that turned the cabin into a refuge from the outside world. It was a space designed for the driver who loved speed, but also silence. Mechanically, it featured a 413 cubic inch V8 engine capable of producing 360 horsepower. Paired with a torque flight automatic transmission, it delivered immediate response and smooth power delivery, ideal for anyone wanting to cross the country without breaking a sweat, but leaving a mark at every traffic light. This car was power in its most refined form. In 1965, the Chrysler 300L had an original price of $4,300, which today equals over $37,000 adjusted for inflation. A high price, but a fair one for a car that marked the end of an era. And even though it was the last of the series, it was also one of the most complete, mature in design, powerful under the hood, and full of history. An interesting fact, many enthusiasts consider the letter car series to be the direct forerunner of the luxury muscle car concept. And the 300L, as a final flourish, proved that a car could be beastly without losing its composure. 1966, Ford Thunderbird Landau. By the mid-1960s, Ford decided its iconic Thunderbird needed more than just power. It wanted it to be a symbol of status, refined taste, and accessible yet imposing American luxury. Thus was born the Thunderbird Landau, a version that focused less on speed and more on the sensory experience. It was a car for those who wanted to ride in elegance, not necessarily in a hurry. Its design spoke for itself. Vinyl roof, in contrast with the body, decorative moldings resembling the hinges of classic carriages, and a Landau emblem hinting at exclusivity. Its proportions were perfect, a long hood seemingly reaching for the horizon and a rear end that closed the silhouette with grace. This Thunderbird didn't aim to break records but to steal glances. Inside, the Landau offered an interior that felt more like the cabin of a private jet than that of a car. Armchair-like power-adjustable seats, faux wood panels, ergonomic controls, and a wraparound layout. Everything was designed to make the drive a relaxed and elegant experience. Comfort was the key word, and Ford understood that perfectly. Under the hood, it had a 390 cubic inch V8 engine delivering 315 horsepower, connected to a 3-speed Cruise-O-Matic automatic transmission. It had punch, yes, but its real strength lay in the smoothness with which it glided down the road, as if floating on an invisible thread of asphalt. In 1966, now the price of this Thunderbird Landau was $4,900, the equivalent of over $42,000 today. It wasn't cheap, but it offered the feeling of being in a higher class without paying a presidential limousine price. It was the ideal car for someone seeking distinction without flashiness. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen one of these Thunderbirds in person? Did you know someone who owned one? Tell us in the comments what memories or impressions this model brings up for you. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray L88. In the world of classic cars, there are machines that were built to be admired and others that were born to be feared. The Stingray L88 belongs to the latter category. This wasn't a car for just anyone. In fact, General Motors itself tried to discourage customers from buying it. Yes, you heard that right. Not meant for daily use, not out of whim, but out of respect, because this beast didn't forgive mistakes. At first glance, the L88 might have looked like just another Corvette, but behind its fiberglass skin was a pure racing creature. It was built with one very clear purpose: to dominate the track. It had no radio, no heater, no air conditioning. Everything unnecessary was stripped away. Only the essentials remained: raw power, reinforced chassis, and the soul of a race car. Under the hood growled a 427 cubic inch V8 engine, officially rated at 430 horsepower. But in reality, it produced over 550 horsepower. Yes, GM intentionally underreported it to prevent unsuspecting buyers from taking home an untamable monster. And still, 20 people did that year. Only 20 units of the L88 were built in 1967, making it one of the rarest and most sought-after Corvettes in history. The original price was $5,400, a very high figure for the time, which today equals around $46,000 adjusted for inflation. But the real value of the L88 wasn't in the numbers. It was in the experience. Pressing the accelerator felt like unleashing a contained lightning bolt. A car with no filters, no compromises, no apologies. A fascinating fact. Despite its extreme capabilities, the L88 had no exterior markings to distinguish it from other Corvettes. It was a wolf in wolf's clothing, dressed like a lamb. Only those who could read the language of its roar could recognize it. 1965, Buick Riviera Grand Sport. If the world of automobiles were a grand ballroom, the Riviera Grand Sport would be that guest who enters quietly in a flawless tuxedo and suddenly takes over the dance floor with unexpected power. This car didn't just combine luxury and visual sophistication, it also hid under the hood the untamed heart of a true muscle car. It was a delicious contradiction, brutality with fine manners. Since its launch in 1963, the Riviera had already caught attention for its European styling and imposing presence, but it was in 1965, with the introduction of the Grand Sport package, that this car became something more. Buick understood that many drivers wanted power without giving up good taste, and so this enhanced version was born. More aggressive, more powerful, more desirable. The Riviera Grand Sport carried a 425 cubic inch V8 engine, specially tuned to deliver 360 horsepower. Its dual carburetor, tight ratio rear axle, and high-flow exhaust made this car not only roar when accelerating, but also respond with firmness and precision. It was a machine that didn't seek attention through flash. It commanded respect through presence. Visually, the 1965 model was the only one of the first generation to feature hidden headlights behind a vertical slat grille, giving it a feline sophistication, as if it were always waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The design flowed from front to rear fenders with a harmony that was hard to match in the industry at the time. Its original price hovered around $5,500, which today would be roughly $47,000. For many, it was a more refined alternative to the conventional muscle cars, and those who chose it knew exactly what they were doing. They sought power, yes, but also class, because the Riviera Grand Sport wasn't driven. It was commanded with poise. A charming fact, this model was one of the few in Buick's history to successfully merge two worlds, luxury and high performance, into a single silhouette. Today, it's a coveted gem among collectors who value the perfect balance between elegance and power. 1966, Oldsmobile Toronado. When this car hit the market in 1966, the American automotive industry flinched. No one saw it coming. In a decade dominated by rear-wheel drive vehicles and conservative design, this model broke all the rules. It was the first American car with front-wheel drive in nearly 30 years. And it didn't stop there. It also brought with it a futuristic design, an imposing presence, and engineering that challenged the status quo. At first glance, the Toronado looked like a concept car that had escaped from an international auto show. Its muscular sidelines, aggressive front end, and sharply cut rear made it a creature completely unlike anything else on the road at the time. It wasn't just different, it was bold. And the best part was that its boldness wasn't just skin deep. It was backed by cutting-edge technology. Its engine was a 425 cubic inch V8, producing 385 horsepower, all sent to the front wheels through an innovative turbo-hydromatic 425 automatic transmission. The result, impeccable traction, especially in low-grip conditions, and a completely new driving feel for American drivers. This car gripped the asphalt like it owned it. The Toronado's original price was $5,600, which today would be more than $48,000 adjusted for inflation, a significant amount, but justified by the level of innovation and the unique driving experience it offered. It wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Oldsmobile wanted to show it could lead the future. A fun fact few remember. The Toronado won the prestigious Motor Trend Car of the Year award in 1966, cementing its place as one of the most revolutionary models of the decade. And now, I want to ask you directly, do you remember the first time you saw a Toronado on the street or in a magazine? Did its design strike you? Did that unusual front-wheel drive grab your attention? Tell us in the comments. 1960 to 1965, Chrysler Imperial Crown. In the 1960s, if a Cadillac was a symbol of status, the Imperial Crown was a symbol of quiet power. This wasn't a car that sought approval. It was a car that commanded presence. Its massive size, bold grille, and chrome details spoke in a deep voice, never needing to raise its tone. This was the automobile of someone who didn't need to prove anything because they already had it all. The Imperial's design was unique within the American industry. It didn't share a platform with any other Chrysler, which made it even more exclusive. From the floating roof to the headlamps housed in separate pods, every line on its body seemed sculpted with the intent of projecting authority. And when it glided down the road, everyone knew something important was happening. Inside, the experience was like riding in first class on a luxury train. Wraparound seats, electric controls everywhere, precise climate control, impressive sound insulation, and a futuristic dashboard with touches that felt pulled straight from a spaceship. The Imperial Crown was pure technology, refined, functional, and ahead of its time. Mechanically, it featured a 413 cubic inch Remy V 8-engine delivering 340 horsepower. Its ride was so smooth that one could forget the vehicle's weight. But pressing the accelerator quickly reminded you that under the hood lived a restrained force, ready to roar when called upon. At the time, this model cost around $6,300, equivalent to more than $54,000 today. It wasn't an accessible car, not even an aspirational one. It was for those already at the top who wanted a vehicle that matched their dignity. And while Cadillac sold more units, the Imperial offered a different kind of luxury. Less flashy, but just as commanding. A curious detail, in certain editions, the Imperial featured an automatic rear suspension leveling system that kept the car balanced regardless of the load. A rare innovation, successfully implemented in very few mass production cars. 1961 to 1967, Lincoln Continental Convertible. Few cars in history have managed to capture the spirit of a nation like the Lincoln Continental did. This wasn't simply a luxury automobile, it was a statement of principles, restraint, power, refinement. The Continental was the car of presidents, ambassadors, and men who made important decisions in silence. And its convertible version, with that near architectural presence, was a rolling work of art. The design lines were clean and straight, with majestic proportions that seemed to defy the passage of time. But what made it immortal were, without a doubt, its suicide doors. A feat of engineering and style that turned every entrance or exit into a choreographed act of elegance. These doors opened in opposite directions, creating a wide ceremonial space that seemed to say, "This moment matters." Inside, the Continental was as understated as it was luxurious. Upholstered in fine leather, real wood trim on the panels, inset clocks, precise electric controls, and an atmosphere of absolute serenity. Its design didn't appeal to excess, but to the perfection of details. Every element had a purpose, and every purpose was executed with class. At its heart was a 430 cubic inch V8, producing 320 horsepower. This car didn't accelerate. It advanced. It didn't roar. It whispered. Its ride was so smooth and quiet that many compared it to floating on a cloud. This wasn't a car built for speed. It was a car built to be seen. In its day, the base price was $6,700, the equivalent of over $57,000 today. But beyond the money, the Continental Convertible represented a lifestyle reserved for those who understood that true luxury lies in discretion. It was the official car of the White House, and tragically, the vehicle in which John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. A symbol of power, history, and sorrow. An eternal fact, the design of this model was so influential that it is still considered one of the most beautiful ever produced by an American brand. Its legacy isn't just preserved in collectors' garages, but in the collective memory of a nation. 1964, Cadillac Fleetwood Series 75 Limousine. This wasn't just a car, it was a presidential salon on wheels, a rolling symbol of status, influence, and absolute social dominance. It was driven by those who commanded, boarded by those who decided, and envied by everyone who saw it pass. Its over 20-foot-long body glided through city avenues like an ocean liner on calm waters. The rear doors were wide, the windows discreet, and the raised roof offered space, not just physically, but symbolically, to the passenger inside. Executives, diplomats, public figures. If someone important was on the move in the 1960s, they did it in a Fleetwood 75. The interior was nothing short of majestic. Seats upholstered in fine-grained leather, thick carpeting, adjustable lighting, privacy curtains, independent air conditioning, and an optional telephone. All designed to create a microcosm of tranquility and luxury where the outside world had no permission to enter. There was even a glass divider between driver and passenger, reinforcing its aura of exclusivity. Under the hood was a 429 cubic-inch V8 engine, delivering 340 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission. It didn't need to accelerate with violence. It moved with authority, as if the road belonged to it. This car wasn't driven. It was escorted. In 1964, this Cadillac carried a price tag of $10,500, equivalent to more than $90,000 today. It was the most expensive mass-production American car of its time. But more than a vehicle, it was a silent declaration that one had arrived at the top. Now, I have a question that goes beyond the technical. If you had the chance to ride in one of these cars just once, on what occasion would you do it? A wedding? An important meeting? An unforgettable farewell? Tell me in the comments. 1960, Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. At the pinnacle of American automotive luxury, shining above every standard of its era, stood a masterpiece that redefined what it meant to build a true luxury car, the Eldorado Brougham. This wasn't a car built to compete. It was built to impress. It wasn't designed to simply drive. It was meant to parade. Every unit was a declaration of aesthetic, technological, and symbolic supremacy. Without a doubt, it was the most expensive American car of its decade. The design of the Eldorado Brougham was nothing short of heavenly, capturing light with futuristic elegance, frameless doors, generous chrome accents. The imposing front grille and its majestic proportions turned this car into a rolling sculpture. It was so ahead of its time, it still looks like it belongs in a luxury sci-fi catalog today. Inside, Cadillac went far beyond anything previously seen. English wool carpeting, personalized fragrance, magnetic cocktail glasses, a hat brush, an illuminated makeup mirror, and even a built-in electric shaver. Each unit was built almost entirely by hand with a level of craftsmanship so meticulous it was hard to believe it still came from a production line. Under the hood, the Eldorado Brougham carried a 390 cubic-inch V8 engine and delivering 345 horsepower, but its true jewel was the self-leveling air suspension, a groundbreaking system that delivered an unparalleled driving experience so smooth it felt like floating over the asphalt. And the price? An astronomical figure for its time, $13,075 in 1960, equivalent to nearly $115,000 today. It was more expensive than many European Rolls-Royces, a Cadillac without restrictions, without compromises, without limits. Only 101 units were produced that year, making it one of the rarest and most coveted American models in history. An extraordinary fact. Instead of selling through regular dealerships, Cadillac personally selected its buyers. as if it were a secret membership. Owning an Eldorado Brougham wasn't just about owning a car. It meant belonging to a carefully chosen elite. And there you have it. The 10 most expensive American cars of the 1960s, true rolling monuments that defined an era of unfiltered excess, innovation, and elegance. But now it's your turn. Which of these titans made you dream the hardest? Would you go for the raw brutality of the Corvette L88 or the quiet luxury of the Lincoln Continental? Leave your answer in the comments. Your opinion doesn't just count, it's a living part of this community of classic car lovers. Want more? Then don't miss the first episode of this series, where we explore the most expensive American cars of the 1950s, a parade of elegance, massive tail fins, extreme chrome, and price tags that'll take your breath away today. Click now and keep the journey rolling.